Well, the first step to getting a kayak loaded up on top of in this case it's a JL roof rack, is to get it unloaded. There we go, unloaded. So real quick, I forgot one other thing. Real quick for the prep, you don't need to have a moving blanket. You don't need to have this other random little thing down on the ground to protect the corner of the kayak. You don't need it. I have it because this kayak is a huge investment and it costs a lot of money. So I figure with the little things that I can do to prevent kind of that excess damage, why not do it? So real quick disclaimer, this is the way that I load up my kayak. I'm not saying this is the best way, the most proper way. It's just the way that works for me. So before I start throwing the kayak up on the Jeep, this is what I have. This is my setup. So I've got it's pretty thick from Bass Pro pool noodle on the front of my roof rack, one other on the back end. I've got this heavy duty moving blanket to go through and cushion and also like prevent that excess scraping over time from pushing it up onto the roof rack. And I've got this little, it's like a sound ending for a JK, but I don't have a JK, so now I have it for here. So walking through steps before I actually do it, what I'm gonna do is pick up the front end of the kayak, get it up, and then kind of walk it up. So as I'm walking, I am lifting it up, and then I'm going to be tilting it and laying it down on the corner of that blanket, sliding it over so that way it's perpendicular and leaning up almost at like, it's like a, I don't know, 50-degree angle-ish, whatever. It's gonna be laying against the side of the Jeep. I will then go around the back, hold down. So on the Sportsman there are two cutouts where I could put my hands to hold the back end of the kayak. That's what I'm gonna grab. I'm gonna grab those two and then squat down, lift with my legs, lift it up, and then I will push it up onto the roof rack so it's still perpendicular, and then I will shimmy it this way to get that front nose end of the kayak sitting on that little foam bar. And then once it's there, I will go back to the back. Well, I'll reposition my hands, shoulder press it up, and then walk it back so then it will be parallel in line with the Jeep. Also, that mat in the back, so when I lift it up, sometimes it doesn't stay like on that skid plate on the back. Sometimes it teeters to one side or the other. So I've noticed some wear and tear on the hull from that. That's why that's there. So I'm gonna reset all of that and do it again. So lined up, ready to go. I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna be using my right hand, grabbing the grab handle, and then hoisting it up. Then with my left hand, I'm grabbing the keel, walking my right hand back under the kayak, and then just pushing it up and sliding it on over, making positive contact with my roof rack. Once it's there, just sliding it into position like so. From here, what I'm doing is the cutouts on the Sportsman, bending down, grabbing those two cutouts, lifting with my legs, and then once I'm here, I'm just pushing it up like that. Once it's, so I've kind of eyeballed it and I kind of get a feeling where it is, but once it's where it should be, I'm getting it over here, pivoting it so the front of the kayak is on that little foam pad, that pool noodle, shoulder pressing it and moving it on over. Now I like to visually inspect to see where how far it is, and then I will adjust accordingly. So in this case, I need to push it forward. So what I'll do is, oh, that's thunder. So what I'll do is I'll just walk it forward, go back, and that's about good. And then from here, just tie down. Now I have a bow line. I typically leave it there until I get it up on the roof rack, and then I'll get it down, just because I don't like loose line to be just dangling around all over the place. And from here, that's pretty much it. That was like the most difficult part. It's not really, after a day of fishing, like obviously having a trailer would be, you know, a lot easier because you wouldn't have to unload everything. You can just throw it on the trailer and be good. But for this, like, I'm not shouldering the kayak at all. I'm really just like, I'm not lifting the entirety of the weight at once. It's breaking it down into smaller sections. So yeah, it's a heavy kayak, but I'm not lifting it all at once, so it's not as cumbersome as it could be. Now got these cam buckler straps. These are keepers. It's like 1.5 inch thick strap, which I really like. So the way I rig it, I have my main 2 cam buckler straps, and then I also run a smaller cam buckler, but this is specifically under, so like under and over, back under the handles. That's just my preferred way of strapping it down. So what I normally do is I will tighten my 3rd cam buckler first, and then I will tighten my primary straps afterwards. So I'll get it pretty tight with this first initial one, but I leave the like supreme tightening to my main ones. So yeah, I tie the bow line, I run it through my front bumper, and I use a taut line hitch. So wrap it over this way 1 time, 2 times, go down over underneath those wraps, pull it tight like so, and then as I go through and take up that slack and get that knot higher up, there's tension, pressure on it, won't come undone. The last thing to do, go back through and just double check the straps, make sure everything's good to go.
That ain't going anywhere.
There we have it. That is how I get my Old Town Sportsman PDL 106 on top of my roof rack on the Jeep. So unloading is pretty simple. It's just like reverse steps. I'll show that right here. Double check, make sure that bow line is disconnected, so that way it's not super awkward. But once that's said and done, all the straps are off. Basically what I do is I will position my hands right here, shoulder press up, and pivot over onto my moving blanket. Once it's sitting at almost like a 45-degree angle, then I will hold the top of the kayak, tilt it back, and continue that pivot over to where I am perpendicular to the Jeep or to the vehicle, tilt it back, and I'm just sliding it down and squatting at the same time. Right there. Now it's sitting flat on the ground, whatever side, so I'm planning on shifting it this way. So I'm gonna line up on the right side over here. What I do is I will tilt it away from me and walk it towards me. Grab the underside where this cutout is for the transducer with one arm, grab it with the other arm, so now all of the weight of the kayak is on my 2 hands. I will continue to pivot, drop it down to my shoulder. Now with my right hand, I'm still holding the underside of the kayak. Left hand is free. I come up and over, grab the grab handle, and continue to lower it down just like that. And that's getting it down. Well, there we have it. That is loading up my Old Town Sportsman PDL 106 on top of a roof rack on a Jeep. This is a JL, but roof racks are roof racks. So all in all, I have 2 main straps, 1 backup strap. I have pull noodles on the front of the roof rack and 1 on the back. Got a bow line running down to the front bumper. And even if I had a PDL 120, I can see myself loading up after a heavy tournament day, doing it this way pretty easily. So it's not the lightest kayak in the world, but I'm not having to shoulder press it, and I'm not having to lift up the entirety of the weight of the kayak. So I split it up, I lift up one end at a time, and it makes it just a lot easier to go through and load up. If you guys have any questions, then let me know, drop it down below. I'll do my best to answer it, but that's essentially it. Thanks for stopping by. That'll be it for this one. I hope that you're able to go fishing, and if you are fishing, I hope that you're able to catch a big one. I will catch you on the next one. God is good. Y'all be blessed. Later.